Listen, this is not just another speech. This is a line between who you are and who you keep pretending you're going to become. Because let me tell you something real. You've been talking long enough, planning long enough, waiting long enough, and nothing changed. Not your habits, not your mindset, not your results. Why? Because you keep choosing comfort over growth, and comfort is killing you silently, slowly, every single day. You wake up with potential and go to sleep with excuses. You say you want more, but your actions, they say something different. And that's the truth most people avoid because it's easier to dream than to discipline yourself. It's easier to talk than to execute. It's easier to stay the same than to change. But easy has a price, and that price is your future. So now I'm asking you not what you want, but what you're willing to do for it. Because wanting something means nothing if you're not willing to suffer for it. And yes, suffer, because nobody becomes great by doing what feels good. You become great by doing what's necessary, even when it hurts, even when you're tired, even when nobody is watching. That's where it starts. Not in motivation, not in hype. In discipline, real discipline, the kind that shows up when you don't feel like it, the kind that works when everything in you says stop. That's what you're missing. Not talent, not opportunity, discipline, and until you build it, nothing changes. You want a different life, then you need different habits. Because your current habits are perfectly designed to keep you exactly where you are. Think about that. Your routine, your choices, your mindset, they're not random. They're creating your reality. So if your life feels stuck, it's not bad luck. It's your system, and systems can be changed, but only when you decide. Not tomorrow, not next week, now. Because the longer you wait, the harder it becomes. The more comfortable you get, the more you settle. And settling, that's dangerous because it doesn't feel like failure. It feels like normal. And one day you wake up and realize you didn't fail, you just never tried. That's the truth. So let me ask you again, are you ready? Not excited, not motivated, ready to do the work when it's boring, ready to stay consistent when it's hard, ready to push forward when nothing is happening, because that's the real test. Not starting, staying, when it's slow, staying, when it's slow, staying, when it's repetitive, staying, when nobody notices. That's where most people quit, because they want results without the process. They want success without sacrifice. They want growth without discomfort. It doesn't work like that. You don't get the reward without the struggle. You don't get the result without the repetition. You don't become strong by staying comfortable. So stop asking for an easy life. Start building a strong one, because a strong person can handle anything. And that's what you need to become. Not lucky, not special, strong, mentally, emotionally, physically, because life will test you again and again and again. And if you're not ready, it will break you. But if you are, it will build you. That's the difference. Preparation, discipline, consistency. And right now you're lacking all three. But that's okay, because you can change it starting today, starting now. But only if you stop lying to yourself. Because deep down you already know what you need to do. Wake up earlier, work harder, cut distractions, stay focused. Simple, but not easy. And that's why most people don't do it. They overcomplicate everything. They look for shortcuts. They wait for the perfect plan. They wait for motivation. Meanwhile, time keeps moving and they stay the same. Don't be that person. Be the one who acts, the one who moves, the one who executes. Because action is the only thing that changes your life. Not thinking, not planning, doing every single day, no matter, even when you don't feel like it, especially when you don't feel like it. That's where growth happens, in resistance, in discomfort, in discipline. So from this moment forward, you make a decision. No more excuses, no more delays, no more waiting. You do the work relentlessly. Because the version of you that you keep thinking about, he's not coming to save you. You have to build him through your actions, through your habits, through your discipline, day by day, step by step. No shortcuts, no excuses, just work. And if you can commit to that, if you can stay consistent, if you can push through the hard days, your life will change. Not instantly, not magically, but inevitably, because results follow discipline every time. Who finishes, because that decision changes everything. So stand up, lock in, and start right now. Listen, now it gets deeper, because this is where most people don't fall because they are weak. They fall because they stop. They stop showing up. They stop pushing. They stop pushing. They stop believing in the process, and slowly they disappear from their own future. Let me be clear with you. Your success is not missing, your discipline is. That's the gap. That's the problem. That's the truth you keep avoiding, because it's easier to blame timing, to blame people, to blame situations. But the mirror tells a different story. You are not doing what needs to be done consistently. That's it. And consistency is everything. You don't fail because one day is bad. You fail because you let one bad day become a bad week. then a bad month, then a wasted year, and you don't even notice it happening because it's slow, silent, comfortable. Destruction doesn't always look like chaos. Sometimes it looks like comfort. Sometimes it looks like I'll start tomorrow. Sometimes it looks like I'm just tired today. And if you keep accepting those lies, you will keep delaying your life. Listen carefully. Nobody is coming to fix this. For you know one death is for you no one is going to wake you up. No one is going to push you every day. No one is going to hold you accountable. It's you, only you, and that is not pressure, that is power. Because if it's on you, it can be changed by you, but only if you take full responsibility. No half effort, no half mindset, no half commitment. Full responsibility, that means your habits matter. What you do when nobody is watching matters. What you choose when you're tired matters. What you repeat every day matters, because repetition builds identity, and identity builds your life. So if your life is not where you want it to be, stop looking outside, start looking inside. Look at what you repeat. Look at what you tolerate. Look at what you accept, because that is your current reality. Now let's talk about something real. Discipline is not a feeling. It is a decision you repeat daily. It is doing what you said you would do, even when your mind gives you 10 reasons not to, especially then, because your mind is not your leader. It is your tool. And if you let your emotions lead you, you will always be inconsistent. One day strong, next day lost, one day focused, next day distracted. And that cycle will destroy your progress. So you must become someone different, someone who does not negotiate with excuses, someone who does not wait for motivation, someone who moves regardless of mood. That is where power begins, not in motivation videos, not in inspiration, but in execution. Quiet execution, daily execution, relentless execution. Let me tell you something most people never understand. Your future is not created in big moments. It is created in small, repeated decisions. What time you wake up, what you eat, what you focus on, what you ignore, what you repeat, that is your life. Not dreams, not wishes, not intentions, your habits. So if you want a new life, you don't need a new dream, you need new habits. Because habits do not lie, habits reveal everything. And right now, your habits are either building you or breaking you. There is no middle ground. So ask yourself honestly, are you building or are you wasting? Because time is moving. Either way, whether you act or not, whether you try or not, whether you care or not, time keeps going, and it does not wait for anyone. So you either use it or lose it, and lost time does not come back. That is why urgency matters, not panic, not stress, but awareness that this moment is important. This decision matters, this day matters, because days become years and years become your life. So if you waste today, you are not just wasting today, you are shaping your future. And now listen closely, the life you want is not far. It is not blocked. It is not impossible. It is just on the other side of discipline, on the other side of consistency, on the other side of effort. You are avoiding, that is it. Nothing mystical, nothing complicated, just action repeated long enough. So stop waiting for a perfect moment, because perfect moments do not exist. Start with what you have, where you are right now, even if it is messy, even if it is hard, even if it is uncomfortable. Start, because starting imperfectly is better than waiting perfectly. And now the truth you need to hear: you already know what to do. You already know what you are avoiding. You already know what needs to change. The only question is, will you do? Question. You need it, or will you delay it again? Because every delay has a cost, and the cost is your future self. So choose wisely, not emotionally, but wisely, and move. Even if it is small, even if it is slow, just move. Because movement breaks stagnation and consistency builds transformation. That is the only formula. No secrets, no shortcuts, just discipline. And now the decision is yours. Listen, this is where excuses start to die, because now we are not talking about motivation anymore. We are talking about identity, who you are when it gets hard, who you are when nobody claps for you, who you are when there is no reward. Yet that is the real version of you, not the one you show the world, the one you live with in silence. And let me tell you something real: your life is not changing because your identity has not changed. You still see yourself as someone who tries, someone who stops when it gets difficult, and that identity is controlling your results because you always act in alignment with how you see yourself. So if you see yourself as inconsistent, you will be inconsistent. If you see yourself as weak in discipline, you will break under pressure. If you see yourself as someone who gives up, you will always find a reason to quit. That is the truth, and it is uncomfortable, but it is also powerful. Because if identity created your current life, then identity can create a new one. But you must choose it, not wish it, not hope for it. Choose it. and then act like it every single day, even when it feels fake at first, even when it feels uncomfortable, even when your old self tries to pull you back, because your old self will fight you. It will say, relax, you've done enough, start again tomorrow. And if you listen, you go back. But if you resist, you grow. That is the battle, not outside. Between who you were and who you are becoming, and let me be honest with you, the new version of you will not feel natural in the beginning because growth feels unnatural to the old identity. Discipline feels heavy to someone used to comfort. Consistency feels boring to someone addicted to motivations. But you don't build a new life by staying comfortable in the old one. You build it by repeating what feels difficult until it becomes normal. That is transformation, repetition, until identity changes. Now understand this. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, you are rewriting your identity. Every time you show up when you don't feel like it, you are building a new version of yourself. Every time you say no to comfort, you are saying yes to your future. And those small choices, they are not small at all. They are shaping everything: your focus, your confidence, your results, your direction. So stop underestimating small actions, because big change is just small actions repeated long enough. Now, let's go deeper. Most people think they need more time, more energy, more motivation, but what they really need is standards, because standards decide your behavior. When motivation disappears, and motivation always disappears. So what are your standards? Do you work no matter what? Do you quit when it gets hard? Do you stay focused or get distracted easily? Do you finish what you start or leave things halfway? Your standards answer everything. And right now, your standards are either too low or not enforced. That is why you keep slipping back. Not because you don't know, but because you don't enforce. So change that, raise your standards and protect them like your life depends on it, because in a way it does. Now listen carefully. You will not always feel strong. You will not always feel focused. You will not always feel capable. But discipline is not about feeling, it is about action. Despite feeling, that is what separates winners from everyone else. Winners act when they don't feel ready. Winners continue when they feel tired. Winners stay when others quit. Not because they win, others quit. Not because they are different, but because they decided to be, and that decision is available to you too right now. Not later, not tomorrow, now. But you must stop negotiating with yourself, because every negotiation weakens your discipline. Every excuse lowers your standard. Every delay builds the habit of quitting. That habit becomes your life, so break it now before it becomes permanent, because the longer you wait, the harder it becomes to change. Now, think about your future self, the version of you you always imagine. He is not built in imagination, he is built in execution, in mornings. You didn't skip in work. You didn't avoid in focus, you didn't break. That is how he is created, not in thoughts, in action. So stop waiting to feel ready. You will never feel fully ready. You become ready by doing, by failing, by correcting, by continuing. That is the process. And now you are in it, so stay in it, even when it feels slow, even when it feels heavy, even when results are not visible yet. Because invisible progress is still progress, and it always shows up later, so trust the process. Listen, now we talk about pressure, because pressure is where truth shows up, not your potential, not your words, not your plans, your truth. And most people don't fail because life is easy. They fail because pressure exposes what they never fixed: weak habits, weak focus, weak discipline. And when pressure comes, everything collapses. But here is what you need to understand: pressure is not your enemy, pressure is your test. It is showing you exactly what needs to be strengthened, and most people run from it. They avoid it, they escape it, they distract themselves from it. But that only delays the problem, it never solves it. Because life does not get easier when you avoid pressure. Life just becomes smaller. Your confidence shrinks, your focus weakens, your discipline fades, and suddenly you are living beneath your potential. Not because you are incapable, but because you avoided growth. Let me tell you something real. Everything you want is sitting behind pressure, behind discomfort, behind the things you keep avoiding, the conversations you don't want to have, the work you don't feel like doing, the effort you keep postponing. That is where your next level is hiding. So when pressure shows up, don't run, don't freeze, don't escape, step into it, because that is where transformation happens. Now understand this clearly. You don't become strong in comfort, you become strong in resistance. When everything feels heavy, and you still move. When everything feels uncertain, and you still try. When everything says stop, and you still continue, that is strength. Not when it is easy, but when it is difficult. And I need you to be honest with yourself. How do you respond to pressure? Do you slow down? Do you make excuses? Do you quit mentally before you even quit physically? Because that pattern, though, is shaping your entire life. Every time you avoid pressure, you teach yourself weakness. Every time you push through pressure, you teach yourself strength. So what are you practicing daily, weakness or strength? Because repetition decides identity. Now let's go deeper. Your future is not decided in perfect moments. It is decided in pressured moments when you are tired, but still choose discipline when you are stressed, but still choose focus when you are overwhelmed, but still choose action. That is where your life changes, not when everything is smooth, but when everything is difficult and silly. And listen carefully, you will not always feel confident. You will not always feel motivated. You will not always feel ready. But pressure does not care about your feelings. Life does not pause for your comfort. So you must learn to act without feeling perfect. That is maturity. That is discipline. That is growth. Now I want you to see something clearly, the version of you that you admire, the strong version, the focused version, the disciplined version. He is not built in easy days. He is built in hard days and days when you wanted to quit, but didn't in days when you wanted to stop, but continued in days when nobody saw your effort, but you still showed up. That is where he is created. So stop waiting for easy conditions. Stop waiting for perfect timing. Stop waiting for motivation to save you, because none of that is coming. What is coming is pressure, and pressure will either break you or build you, but it will not leave you the same. So you must decide now, when pressure hits you, will you fold or will you rise? Because every time you rise, you become harder to break. Every time you push through, you become stronger mentally. Every time you refuse to quit, you become closer to the person to see you. So you must you are meant to be. And let me tell you something important. Nobody becomes powerful without pressure. Nobody becomes disciplined without struggle. Nobody becomes successful without resistance. It is part of the process, not the obstacle. So stop seeing pressure as a threat. Start seeing it as training for your mind, training for your discipline, training for your future, because one day life will demand everything from you. And if you have not trained under pressure, you will collapse. But if you have embraced it, you will stand strong. Now ask yourself, are you avoiding pressure, or are you building strength through it? Because your answer is your future. So from this moment forward, stop escaping difficulty. Stop avoiding challenge. Stop running from discomfort. Face it, handle it, grow through it. Because handle it, grow through it. You want is not on the easy path. It is on the path you keep avoiding. And if you are serious about change, then pressure is no longer your enemy. It is your teacher. Learn from it, grow from it, and let it shape you. Because on the other side of pressure is power. Listen now. We talk about consistency, because consistency is where most people die quietly, not physically, but mentally. They stop showing up, they stop trying, they stop caring, slowly, without even noticing. And it never happens in one big moment. It happens in small choices, one skipped day, one excuse, one delay, and then another, until the habit of quitting becomes normal. That is why consistency is everything, not talent, not motivation, not emotion. Consistency, because consistency is what builds results, not intensity for one day, not motivation for 1 week, but discipline repeated over time. Let me tell you something real. Your life is not shaped by what you do sometimes. It is shaped by what you do every day, your routines, your habits, your patterns. That is your real identity. And if your results are not changing, it is not because you lack potential, it is because you lack consistency. You are starting and stopping, and every restart costs you progress, because every time you stop, you lose momentum, and every time you restart, you have to rebuild again. That is why most people never grow. They keep resetting instead of building. Now understand this clearly. Success is not a moment. It is a system of repeated actions done daily, without emotional dependence, without excuses, without breaks from discipline. And I know what your mind says. I will do it when I feel ready. I will start when I am motivated. I will be consistent later. But later never comes. Later is a trap. Later is where dreams go to die, because life does not reward intention. It rewards execution, what you actually do, not what you plan to do, not what you said you would do, what you did. So stop negotiating with yourself. Stop giving yourself permission to skip discipline. Stop treating consistency like an option, because it is not optional. It is the foundation. Now listen carefully. The difference between who you are and who you want to be is not ability. It is repetition. What you repeat becomes you. If you repeat distraction, you become distracted. If you repeat laziness, you become lazy. If you repeat discipline, you become disciplined. It is that simple, but not that easy. because repetition requires commitment, even when it is boring, even when it is hard, even when nobody is watching. That is the real test. And most people fail here not because they're weak, but because they chase excitement. They want every day to feel new, every day to feel motivated, but growth is not exciting. Growth is repetitive. You do the same things again and again until they become your identity. And that is where transformation happens. Now, think about your life. Honestly, what are you repeating daily? Is it building your future or destroying it slowly? Because there is no neutral. You are always building or breaking. Every choice counts, every habit matters, every repetition shapes your direction. So if your direction is wrong, don't just wish for change, change what you repeat. Now let's go deeper. Consistency is not about perfection. It is about return even when you fall off. You return even when you fail. You return even when you lose momentum. You return. That is what separates winners. They return faster, they correct faster, they rebuild faster, because they understand something most people don't. You will not always be perfect, but you can always be consistent over time, and that is enough to win. Now listen, there will be days you feel nothing, no motivation, no energy, no excitement. Those are the most important days because those are the days that build real discipline. Anyone can perform when they feel good, but only a few can perform when they feel nothing. And that is where greatness lives. So stop depending on feelings, start depending on standards. Standards that say, I show up no matter what. I do not break my routine. I do not stop because I feel oath. That is power. And once you build that, your life starts changing quietly, not instantly, not dramatically, but steadily. And steady change is permanent change. Now understand this: consistency is not loud. It does not feel exciting. It does not give instant rewards, but over time, it becomes unstoppable because compound effort always wins. Small actions repeated daily become massive results, but only if you do not stop. That is the key. Do not stop. So from this moment forward, decide who you are. Someone who starts and stops, or someone who stays, someone who is motivated occasionally, or someone who is disciplined daily. Because your consistency will decide your future, not your potential, not your dreams, your consistency. And if you protect it, if you build it, if you respect it, your life will change. Quietly but permanently. Listen now, we talk about focus, because focus is the difference between movement and progress. Most people are always busy, but very few are actually moving forward. They are distracted, pulled in every direction, jumping from one thing to another. And at the end of the day, they are focused, exhausted but not improved. That is the trap: being busy without being better, doing a lot without building anything. And it feels like progress, but it is not. It is distraction disguised as effort. Let me tell you something real. Your life is moving in the direction of your focus, not your focus, not your intentions, not your dreams, not your plans, your focus. Whatever you give your attention to grows in your life. If you focus on distraction, your life becomes distracted. If you focus on comfort, your life becomes comfortable but stagnant. If you focus on growth, your life starts to expand. But focus is not easy because everything is competing for your attention: your phone, social media, people, noise, instant entertainment. All of it is designed to pull you away from your future. And every time you give in, you lose something. Not just time, you lose momentum. You lose clarity, you lose discipline, and slowly you lose direction. Now understand this clearly: focus is not about doing more. It is about doing less of what does not matter. Most people fail because they try to do everything and end up mastering nothing. But successful people are different. They eliminate, they cut, they simplify. They focus on what matters and they protect it because they understand something powerful: if you do not control your focus, someone else will, and they will not use it for your benefit. So you must take control, not sometimes, not when you feel like it, every day. Now let's go deeper. Distraction is traction. It's not always obvious. Sometimes it looks like rest. Sometimes it looks like just 5 minutes. Sometimes it looks like it's also, I will start after this. But those small moments are where discipline dies, because focus is broken in small pieces, not big events. One scroll, one delay, one unnecessary break, and suddenly your entire momentum is gone. So you must become aware, hyper aware of where your attention goes, because your attention is your life. There is no separation. Now think honestly, what has your attention most of the time? Is it your future, or is it entertainment? Is it your goals, or is it distraction? Because the answer explains everything. And here is the truth: you cannot build a serious life with an unfocused mind. It does not work because your energy is scattered. Energy produces scattered results. That too results. That is why you feel stuck, not because you are not capable, but because your focus is divided. Too many things, too many distractions, too little depth. Now listen carefully. Focus is a skill. It is not something you are born with, it is something you train by repeatedly bringing your mind back again and again. Every time you catch yourself distracted and return to the task, you are building focus. Every time you stay with one thing longer, you are strengthening your mind. And at first it feels difficult because your mind is used to jumping, used to noise, used to stimulation. But over time, it becomes stronger. Now understand, this focus is where results are created, not in effort alone, but in directed effort. Effort with direction becomes progress. Effort without direction becomes waste. So ask yourself, where is your energy going? Is it building something, or is it being consumed? Because there is a difference, a huge difference. Now let's go deeper. If you want a different life, you need a different attention span. You cannot stay distracted and expect disciplined results. It does not match. You must learn to stay with hard things long enough to see results. Most people quit early. They lose focus too quickly and they never reach depth. But depth is where success is. Depth in work, depth in skill, depth in discipline. That is what separates average from great. Now listen, every distraction you remove gives you power back. Every moment of focus you protect builds your future. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, you are rewriting your life. And slowly, without noise, without drama, you become someone different, someone focused, someone sharp, someone dangerous in execution. So from this moment forward, you protect your focus, you guard it, you treat it like your most valuable asset, because it is. And remember this, your life will not change by doing everything. It will change by focusing on the right things consistently without breaking attention. That is where transformation happens, not in chaos, not in distraction, but in deep focus, repeated daily. So decide now, are you going to scatter your energy, or are you going to direct it? Because your focus will decide your future. Listen now, we talk about something most people avoid completely: sacrifice. Because nobody wants to hear this part. Everybody wants success, but nobody wants to lose anything for it. You want change, but you want to keep your comfort. You want growth, but you want easy days. You want a new life, but you want to keep your old habits. And it does not work like that. Something has to be sacrificed: your comfort, your distractions, your excuses, your laziness. Something has to go, because every level of growth demands loss. You lose comfort to gain discipline. You lose distractions to gain focus. You lose temporary pleasure to gain long-term success. That is the trade, and there is no exception. Let me tell you something. Because they refuse to pay the price, they want the reward. Without the effort, they want the result. Without the sacrifice. And life does not work that way. Everything you want is on the other side of what you are avoiding. That is the truth, not motivation. Truth, you say you want a better body, but you avoid discipline. You say you want success, but you avoid hard work. You say you want freedom, but you avoid responsibility, and those contradictions are your reality. Now understand this clearly: sacrifice is not loss. It is exchange. You give up something small to gain something bigger. You give up comfort today to gain freedom. Tomorrow you give up distraction, now to gain focus forever. But the mind resists this because the mind is addicted to comfort. It wants easy paths. It wants shortcuts. It wants pleasure without pain. But growth lives in the opposite direction. And this is where most people break, not because they do not know what to do, but because they are not willing to let go. Let go of habits, let go of people, let go of routines that keep them stuck. Because sometimes sacrifice is not just habits. Sometimes it is environment, sometimes it is relationships, sometimes it is the version of yourself you keep defending. And that is uncomfortable, because letting go means facing change. And change feels like loss at first, but it is not loss, it is upgrade. Now listen carefully. If you keep holding on to everything, you will grow nothing, because full hands cannot receive new things. You must release to receive. So ask yourself honestly, what are you still holding on to that is keeping you stuck? What habit? What distraction? What mindset? Because that is the real blockage, and you already know the answer down. You already know what needs to change. You just have not decided to change it yet. That is the difference. Knowing is not enough. Deciding is everything. Because the moment you decide, you stop negotiating. You stop delaying. You stop justifying. You start acting. And that is where your life shifts, not in thinking and decision. Now understand, this sacrifice is not punishment. It is investment. Every hard choice is building your future self. Every uncomfortable action is shaping your discipline. Every moment you say no to weakness, you are saying yes to strength. And over time, the small sacrifices compound. They turn into confidence. They turn into control. They turn into results. But only if you stay consistent. Only if you keep choosing growth over comfort. Only if you do not go back. Because the biggest danger is not starting wrong. It's going back to what was destroying you. That is the real failure. So from this moment forward, be honest with yourself. Stop protecting your excuses. Stop defending your comfort. Stop delaying your discipline. Because the life you want will always demand a version of you that you are currently avoiding becoming. And that version is built through sacrifice, not talk, not hope, not waiting, sacrifice and action. So decide now, what are you willing to give up? Because until you answer that, nothing in your life will change. Listen, this is the final point. Not because the journey is over, but because now you either understand it, you don't, and if you understand it, you don't need more words, you need action. Everything you have heard up to this moment comes down to one thing: responsibility. Not partial, not selective, full responsibility for your habits, for your mindset, for your discipline, for your life. Because as long as you keep placing blame outside yourself, you give away your power, you give it to circumstances, you give it to people, you give it to your past. And the moment you do that, you stop building your future. Let me be very clear with you. Your life is not controlled by what happened to you. Your life is controlled by how you respond to what happened to you. That response is everything. That response is your identity. That response is your future. And right now, you are standing at a point where excuses end, not later, not someday, now. Because if you leave this moment unchanged, you will repeat the same cycle again. Same thoughts, same habits, same results, just different days. So the question is simple. Are you willing to break that cycle, not talk about it? Not think about it, break it. Because breaking cycles is not emotional. It is structural. It means your daily habits change. It means your environment changes. It means your decisions change. It means your identity changes. And that is uncomfortable because your current identity will fight you. It will pull you back to what is familiar. It will tell you to relax. It will tell you to wait. It will tell you that you are doing enough, but enough is not what you came for. You came for change, real change, and permanent change only happens when repetition is controlled. What you repeat becomes you, so the question becomes, what are you repeating? Are you repeating discipline, or are you repeating delay? Are you repeating focus, or are you repeating distraction? Are you repeating effort, or are you repeating avoidance? Because whatever you repeat is what you become. And nobody is coming to fix that for you. No motivation, no perfect moment, no outside rescue. It is you. That is not pressure, that is clarity, because clarity removes excuses. Now listen closely. The life you say you want is not hidden from you. It is not locked away. It is not unavailable. It is simply behind behavior you are not consistent with yet. That are habits. Discipline, better focus, better decisions. That is the entire gap. And you close that gap daily. Not in one big moment, but in small, repeated actions. Wake up and do what needs to be done, even when you do not feel like it, even when nobody is watching, even when there is no reward yet. That is where your new life is built. Because discipline is not proven in words, it is proven in silence, when there is no applause, when there is no audience, when there is no pressure from outside. Only your internal standard, and whether you keep it or break it. Most people break it because it feels easier in the moment, but every time you break it, you lower your standard, and every time you keep it, you raise your identity. So what are you building right now, a stronger identity or a weaker one? Because there is no neutral state. You are always moving in one direction, up or down, forward or backward. Understand this deeply. You will never feel fully ready. You will never feel completely confident. You will never feel perfectly prepared. That moment does not exist. So waiting for it is just delay, disguised as planning. Action creates readiness, not the other way around. You act first, then clarity comes. You act first, then confidence builds. You act first, then discipline strengthens. So stop waiting for signals. Stop waiting for perfect timing. Start moving with what you already have, because what you have is enough to begin, not enough to finish everything, but enough to start changing direction. And direction is everything, because small changes in direction today create completely different outcomes in the future. That is how life works, not instantly, but inevitably. Now, Here is the final truth. You are going to feel resistance every time you try to change your mind. Will resist your will resist your habits, will resist your environment, will resist. But resistance is not a stop sign. It is a signal that you are moving correctly, because nothing valuable comes without resistance. Growth has resistance, discipline has resistance, change has